Hello, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Mental Health, the New Wealth. I am your host, Nikita Nicole, the Illuminist, and I am so excited that you decided to join me for yet another episode. There are so many components when you talk about mental health, and there are so many ways that we can break down these different components. However, emotions and feelings are one of the main things that we experience as an indicator for how our life experiences are affecting us. Feminine energy has been charged with using emotions and feelings too much, while masculine energy has been shunned or discouraged in using these energies only to amplify anger and dominance. The topic of emotions and feelings is complex with many pieces, but we will be attempting today on this episode of Mental Health, the New Wealth, to help you to understand more about what emotions are, how they show up in our lives, and what we are able to do to maintain high vibrational, balanced emotions for optimal living. So sit back, relax, and let's get into this episode. Before we get into this episode, let me say that I am not a licensed mental health professional nor a doctor, although I will host licensed professionals as guests from time to time. The mental health difficulties discussed on this podcast will come from extensive research, life experiences of myself and others, and are not to be taken as diagnosis, prescription, or cure to any health mental difficulties or disorders. If you are experiencing deep mental health difficulties of any kind and have lasted for any duration of time, please contact your local mental health professional for assistance with treatment. If you or someone you know is suffering with mental distress or thoughts of suicide, you are not alone. Please call the toll-free National Suicide Prevention Hotline, open 24/7 at 1-800-273-8255. Again, that is 1-800-273-8255. Now let's get into the episode. Emotions are classified as mental states brought on by neurological changes, mainly associated with thoughts, feelings, and behavioral responses that indicate a degree of pleasure or displeasure. Feelings can be described as a conscious mental reaction, subjectively experienced, usually directed towards a specific object and or thing, typically accompanied by psychological and behavioral changes in the body. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Mental Health, the New Wealth. I am your host, Nikita Nicole, and I know you have options with podcasts, so I am so excited that you decided to make Mental Health, the New Wealth, one of the podcasts that you regularly listen to. I pray that these episodes that I am pushing out on a weekly basis not only give you understanding, but encourage you and give you tips and tricks for optimal living. Today, we're going to get into emotions, and emotions is so very important because it is one of the main facets as to how we operate. So let's go into understanding what emotions are and the different kind of emotions. So as I mentioned before, the definition of emotions and feelings is very similar in that it is a response to how you feel regarding things that happen in your everyday life. And it's important to understand that although your feelings and emotions can be subconscious, a lot of times they are very conscious because they are, in fact, subjective. Subjective meaning that they're based off of your perception. So the things that I might be emotional about or might have a certain emotional trigger about, you might not feel that same way. And so let's talk about the different levels of emotion. How you think, which is subjective experience, how you feel, sociological response, and how you react, which is your feelings, your behavioral responses. So let's break these down so that we can understand these more fluidly, although they are interchangeable. Subjective experience relates to the experience that you have that is related to your perspective. And as I mentioned, why this is called subjective is because the experiences and the way that I was raised may allow me to look at things a lot differently from how someone else would. So, in this instance, the same thing can happen to the same people at the same exact time in the same way, but everyone will have a subjective response to what just happened. Once this happens, feelings are formed regarding the experience. They are first formed initially, and then after being taken in and thought about for a certain period of time, or not thought about for a certain period of time, a reaction and an emotion becomes present. So, what do these subjective experiences look like that we might experience on a regular, everyday basis? They might look like graduation. They might look like having a child, getting married, breaking up, going off to school. They're mainly pivotal moments that happen in our lives. And how we think about these pivotal moments in our lives cultivates the emotion and the feelings that we have around these things. For an example, a person finds out that they're pregnant. The couple might be ecstatic that they're pregnant, while the other couple might not be so excited about the new life experience. Due to the differences in this subjective experience, the feelings and the way in which they respond to this experience may be very different. Sociological response is a reaction that is experienced due to your emotions or the way that you feel. So, whereas the subjective experience was how you think about a thing or how you perceive a thing, sociological response is how you physically feel about that thing. This response is controlled autonomic nervous system. This nervous system controls involuntary body responses like blood flow, heart rate, digestive tract, and is also responsible for fight or flight reactions. Because this more deals with the brain functioning and physicality, this can be also affected by neurological defects or glitches and can also be affected by hormonal changes, affecting the way that you respond and feel about a thing, although it might be the same thing that happened. The culmination collective of subjective experience and sociological response produce behavioral responses. This is not how you think or your perspective, how you physically feel about what's going on, but it's the way in which you act and react to these feelings. Behavioral responses is an emotional behavior response that is felt from your subjective experience and sociological experience. This is known as your emotional intelligence. So by the time you have gotten to this place, you already have developed emotions off of the experience. They may change, they may fluctuate, they may even be different. However, once this phase of emotions happen, now, as they say, it's written all over your face. It's written all over your body language. And it is how you react in this phase of emotions that emits to the world around you, letting it know how you feel about a certain thing, whether it is anger, sadness, happiness, or joy. At this phase, you are emitting to the world, this is how I feel. And it is a combination of the other two levels of emotions and feelings. Due to a person's perception, they will then develop emotions and feelings based off of how you feel. But it's through your behavioral responses that let them know whether you are in agreement. These behavioral responses could be in the way that you react, your body language or facial expressions, or in general, your aura or energy that you carry about yourself. It's very important to understand the different levels of emotion so that when you are experiencing emotion, you know which portion of that you're going through so that you can facilitate a healthy emotional process and understanding. Now that we have a little more clarity about the different levels of emotion and how we understand, feel, and show emotion, let's talk about the different breakdown of emotions. These two are combined in basic emotions and secondary emotions, also known as combined emotions. As human beings here in this 3D experience, there are a myriad of frequencies that we experience on a regular basis. Some are innately our own, and some are a combinations of others that we come across amidst energy and frequency, whether it is high or low. Classifying these in basic emotions and secondary emotions can help you understand more so about how emotions start and they can flourish high vibrationally or low vibrationally. Basic emotions are happiness, sadness, fear, anger, excitement, and these emotions and feeling classifications are aligned with colors, certain frequencies, and tone. Unlike basic emotions, combined or secondary emotions are mixtures of basic emotions. These emotions look like frustration, pride, envy, anxiety, joy. These secondary emotions are mostly formed off of the belief that we have about an experience. Say, for instance, you have money issues and you always have. You just are not a good steward over money. So you have a fear or hate, direct negative emotion regarding money. So a secondary or combined emotion that you might create due to this is anxiety, a feeling of lack or deprivation. This is the combination of worthlessness and fear together. If this is encouraged for too long of a time and your emotions stay at that lower vibrational state, it can turn into the product of depression. Likewise, on the positive spectrum, if you are very excited about something, you know that all is well and working for your good, and you look forward with gratitude for what you are to receive, then that combination of happiness, contentment, and love may transition into joy and elation. Everything comes from a root emotion. So, in looking at this, why is it so important? Why is it important for me to understand how emotions are processed and then how we show up in the world with our emotions? It's important because if you maintain an imbalanced range of motions, it will be hard for you to function throughout your day and have great, lasting relationships with yourself and others. And balanced emotions look like being overwhelmed, being exhausted, mood swings, emotional instability, loss of imagination or creativity. And then once these emotions are able to take root, if they are negative, then they eventually turn into physical attributes in our body, whether it is low energy, a lower libido, a irregular digestive system, or issues with your lungs. It can also, if not checked, create stiffness, lower back and kidney issues, and pelvic pain. So it's very important for you to stabilize your emotions because if not checked, it can cause you later physical problems. And in dealing with emotions, I have come to learn and believe and understand the philosophy of Abraham Hicks. Emotions are indicators of how far or how close you are to your higher self and how divine source, God, feels about you. So I'll use that as an example. If you are sad, if you are burdened, that is letting you know that whatever you are experiencing has taken you away or moving you from how the divine innately feels about you and what you were created here to experience. Now, I'm not saying that we will not have problems and things that we are going through. But just say, for instance, if you have low self esteem and you are suffering with losing weight or bad eating habits, that will cause emotions of hatred or fear, which will turn into lack, which will later turn into anxiety, self loathing. So during this time, you try to figure out what is it that you need to do to change this, whether it be working out, plastic surgery, a strenuous diet, when all the while divine source only wants you to be healthy and take care of the body that you received in this lifetime in the best way possible. If you are in fact doing that and keeping up habits and routines that will allow you to thrive and have an optimal life, then there is nothing wrong with your body. There is nothing wrong with how you are operating. So when you are feeling down, when you are feeling depressed about your body and how things are going in your life, the worse that you feel and the more that you give into those lower vibrational feelings, you are moving further away from who you are and who you have been sent here to be through the divine. I know this is a day and age that everyone looks the same and everyone is copying everyone and everyone is getting surgery and doing different things. Everyone seems to have money and everyone seems to be traveling and everyone seems to be doing a lot. And so it's very easy for you to get caught up in what you see to be true. But I need you to understand and be certain that who you are and who you were sent down here to be should make you feel good. And if watching social media, if comparing yourself to other people's lives, if looking at things that are not innately you is making you depressed, making you sad, giving you anxiety, giving you a feeling of lack or worthlessness, then that's indication that is something that you need to discontinue because it's taking you further and further away from your divine connection and who you were sent here to be. Likewise, if you are not living up to your potential and you are just sitting, and there are so many ideas, so many things that would benefit us as a collective if you would just get up off of it. If you would just do the work to make it come to life. If you would just start that podcast, start that clothing line, start that conscious, resourceful brand, start that minimal lifestyle, healthy eating, healthy living, whatever it is. Once you start that, we all will be blessed and benefit from your obedience to the call of the divine as to why you were placed here on this earth. The more and more that you don't do what it is in your place to do, the more sad you will feel, the more unfulfilled you will feel, because that is indication also that you are moving further and further away from your divine calling and who you are here to be. There are so many dreams and goals and unfulfilled potential in the cemetery. There's so many people that left here that did not push forward and do what they were meant here to do in this lifetime and have been charged to come back and do it over again because they were full of fear, because they were not able to push past basic and secondary emotions. What's up, my mental health, the New Wealth family? It's your girl, Nikita Nicole, the Illuminist. And have you heard about Anchor by Spotify? It's the easiest way to make a fire podcast with everything you need in one place. Let me explain. On Anchor, you have tools to record and edit your podcast on your phone or computer. The great podcast that you create can be heard on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and more. It's all that you need in one place. So go to your app store and download Anchor, or go to anchor.fm and get started. That's anchor.fm. And let's get this going. I'm ready to hear an amazing podcast. Tell them Nikita Nicole of Mental Health, the New Wealth sent you. You are not to be ruled or led by your emotions. When you experience emotions, does not necessarily mean that you need to immediately react. All emotions is indication of your divine place in a situation. If you are in a bad relationship, the feeling and turmoil that you feel in that relationship in your spirit is indication of where you are in that relationship. It is letting you know this relationship is not positive, it is not good, you need to move on. Likewise, if you are in a healthy relationship where you feel joy and you thrive, you grow, you flourish, and you bear beautiful, sweet fruit. There's been a misconception that women in general feel too much emotion and men are only allowed to feel anger or express dominance when that is not the case. There is such an imbalance of what we are supposed to be. We are supposed to be nothing but what we innately are. And when we allow these emotions to flow and when we process these emotions, then we are able to predict how we can move forward to improve these emotions. So, in those examples, as you see, emotions are just catalysts for direction in which ways that we need to go, things that we need to do, things that we need to discontinue, and things that we need to move forward in. A lot of times we do not listen to our emotions and feelings when they are there to protect or encourage us. When people are going out to do things that are bigger than what they ever thought before, they might get a queasiness, when in turn, that is your emotional senses telling you, wow, this is something that we have never done before. Let's jump in the ring and get it done. You can use feelings of fear in that way to push forward and to be greater than you ever thought you can ever be. On the opposite spectrum, when you're going somewhere that might not be favorable to you, that pit in your stomach is letting you know, turn around, don't be around these people, don't go to that place, or I think it's time for you to leave now. These are the things that help you in your life, pushing you forward towards growth while also providing protection from frequencies not seen by the eye. It's very important that we calibrate our emotions and feelings so that when we go out and we commune with each other, when we experience different things together, consistent vibrations of love, understanding, acceptance, and compassion. You're not always going to go around and feel good every moment of the day, but as long as you are consistent in dealing with your emotions, not putting how you feel off on people that don't deserve it, but working with tools for optimization to make sure that you are the best balance. And when you are not feeling the best balance, being able to communicate that I'm not having the greatest day today, or please allow me time to get myself together. Even in an argument or an unpleasant situation, you are able to operate your emotions. In the event that you are not able to control your emotions, not subdue them, not press them down, but to allow them to be used in the way that will be most effective for the outcome of both parties, then you have allowed some boundaries to be crossed. You have allowed a situation to go on for too long or allowed too many mishaps to happen to where your emotions, your feelings, and the things that help you regulate your emotions and feelings are not being honored or respected. And at that point, in those instances, you normally have lashing out. A lot of times there are physical altercations. There are things that happen because you allow boundaries to be crossed continually without indication that this was not okay to you and you were not able to move forward past that. In worst case scenario, due to fooling with somebody's feelings, we have homicide, suicide, and other terrible causes to emotions and feelings being abused. If you are not able to handle your emotions and feelings over a long period of time, then it might be important for you to enroll or enlist yourself in some behavioral therapy or anger management. There's also emotional therapy that you can take advantage of that is based on the secondary emotions that you feel from a traumatic experience that has happened in your life, whether it is your upbringing, the way you were raised, addiction, or abusive relationships. But it is very important for you to understand and know yourself so that you can start looking at these things before it is too late. Once again, your emotions should not be an indication to reaction. Your emotion should be indication to how you feel about a certain thing so that you are able to make better decisions on how you are to move forward. So now that we talked about what emotions are, how they are conveyed, how they show up in our bodies, and the difference between basic and secondary emotions, let's talk about some things that we can do to make sure that we keep balanced emotional habits. So these are just some things that I know that work for me, and hopefully they will work for you also. It is important that you embody the four agreements as stated by Miguel Ruiz. When you embody these four agreements, it allows you to eliminate a lot of the basic emotions that we feel off of perception and assumption. These four agreements are: don't take things personally. When you don't take things personally, you won't operate out of hate, fear, or judgment because you are not putting on a shoe that someone set out for you. If you do not believe that this is not who you are, you don't agree with what's being said, or someone does something because they're not in the best feelings and emotions for themselves, you don't necessarily take it on as it's something that you have done. Be impeccable with your word. If you are impeccable with your word, do what you say and say what you're going to do. It'll culminate the secondary emotion of trust, faith, and belief, and yourself and others. So the anxiety and the fatigue that you may feel trying to build these relationships will not even be present because you do what you say and you say what you mean. Don't assume. If you are wanting to know or understand something, ask a question. Even though you might not necessarily like the answer to the question, at least you have the answer to the question so that you are able to make movements based off of the answer that you receive. So just say, for instance, if you are in a relationship or you are in a friend group, there's nothing wrong with asking, where is this relationship going? Where do you see this friendship? Once you receive the answer to that, then you are able to cultivate your feelings in the way that they should be, not assuming how the other person feels, and then developing a counter emotion or response based off of your assumption. Might I add, in relationships, this will save a lot of heartache if the person is truthful and impeccable with their word. You are very clear how the person feels about you, the relationship, the direction of the relationship. So then you can operate out of the emotions that are appropriate for the situation. And last but not least, out of the 4 agreements, do your best. It is important that you show up for yourself and others in the best light. You will not always be perfect, but as long as you go in with the intention and the integrity to do your best, you will always be great. And when at times you fall short, and you will definitely fall short, you are able to communicate and let others know, I tried my best, but I guess in this certain scenario or situation, my best was not good enough. Outside of the 4 agreements, it's very important for you to have a healthy level of detachment. I know I said this several times in other mental health, the new wealth episodes, because having a healthy level of detachment allows you to not be so wrapped up and evolved in a person, place, or thing that if the dynamics change between you, that person, place, or thing, you are not distraught and devastated. It's also important with emotions and feelings to forgive. If you are able to forgive, it's almost like emptying the recycle bin on the computer. You still experience or know that the trash was there. However, you have no more space for it on board with you to run your programming. When you are able to forgive, it is more for you than the other person, and it will help you to cultivate healthier emotional practices. It is always also good to communicate, as I stated earlier. When you communicate, you make it clear as to what you feel or what you see, although it may be an emotional response, but at least you are able to express that in a positive way. But I promise you, if you go in a situation yelling, arguing, nagging, fussing, and fighting, that vibration is so low that it does not allow for optimal listening and understanding. And at that frequency, most oftentimes, a person repels what it is that you were saying. As we know, if you do not put these simple things in practice, then the effects of bad emotional hygiene will then go to your actual physical body. So that you can avoid this, or if you already are suffering from some physical attributes of bad emotional hygiene, then make sure you do some daily movement, preferably some exercising. And if you're not a big exercise person, definitely yoga. Yoga works with your chakras to release blockages in your body. It is like an ultimate spiritual stretch. Make sure to stay hydrated and always take some type of probiotic or apple cider vinegar to keep your body regulated and to keep your bowels open and moving. I must let you know that your digestive system and your midsection area, which is the sacral chakra, is where your emotions are held. So if you have issues with your digestive tract or your digestive system, have an enlarged stomach with excess fat, it may just very well be that you do not and have not been dealing with your emotions and feelings very well, nor have you discarded of all the emotional feelings that you have experienced that were traumatic or impacted you negatively. It's also important to limit your dairy. I love me some cheese, so I can't shade. However, I kind of embody the dietary style of a pescatarian. But you want to stay away from dairy because dairy stimulates hormones in your body, and also because it comes from mammal that they also give hormones and antibiotics. Those hormones and antibiotics, along with the fear response and other feelings that the animal feels, is then transferred over to you for you to emit that energy. As you are steering clear of dairy, it is also important for you to eat clean. Eat live, vibrant, alkaline foods. And if you are a meat eater, it's no problem with that. Maybe your genetic makeup or your blood makeup requires you to consume meat. But if that is the case, make sure that it is sustainable, that is fresh, and that it is going under the least stress possible. I mean, how can you not be stressed out when you're going to go get killed for human consumption? But at least prior to that point, hopefully the cow, the chicken, the lamb, whatever meat source that you're going to eat, experience less trauma. And last but not least, with the things that we put in our body, minimize stimulants or alcohol consumption. It's easy when we're dealing with emotions and things happening that we automatically jump to consumption of a stimulant, whether it be to lower our anxiety or boost our mood. When you come down off of these stimulants, the feeling that you feel is the same or if not worse. So it's very important that you deal with some of those issues, because if not, you become codependent on the stimulant of choice, or you make cocktails and use several different stimulants. Stimulants don't even necessarily have to be an alcohol or a actual drug. Stimulants can be sex, gambling, spending money, watching pornography, gossiping, lying. Stimulants can be anything that you do on a regular basis to calibrate your emotions and make yourself feel better. So if getting on the phone with your friend and talking for hours about somebody else's business and how somebody else's life is messed up works for you because it keeps you away from your emotions, then that is a stimulant that you then need to discontinue. As we briefly skimmed over a moment ago, let's talk about where these emotions come from. They're not only neurological responses that you have to things and experiences that happen. The region in your body that controls this function is your second chakra, which is your sacral chakra. The energy of the sacral chakra is feminine. However, it's not feminine specific. And what I mean by that is it's important whether you are a masculine or a feminine to have balance. So just as I am a feminine, it is very important for me to be able to use my masculinity and interchange those energies to be balanced. Vice versa. For a man, if you are innately a masculine, it is very important for you to embody some facets of femininity so that way you are not operating out of toxic masculinity. So the color of the sacral chakra is orange. It is located in the sacrum area, which is the pelvis, and it is ruled by water. Water is also an element of emotion as it ebbs and flows. Likewise, to feel better in a lot of circumstances and situations, if you are going through emotional things, you can take baths, sit by waters or creeks. But I must warn you that it is very important to monitor your feelings if you are to sit in water. And why I say that is off of your mere words or the things that are around you, you can charge water to do what you will have it to do. Likewise, if you are loathing, if you are depressed, if you are sad and sit in a tub of water, most oftentimes that water is going to absorb the vibration that you have in that water unless you have charged that water positively. And you might feel worse, heavier, or even have thoughts that are not natural to you because the water is amplifying how you feel. So it is very important for you to listen to water, maybe sit out when it rains, to sit by a creek or something of that nature. But in dealing with immersing yourself in water, whether it is the ocean, whether it's a hot tub, a pool, a personal tub at your home, it's very important for you to set your intentions prior to you getting into the water physically. The sacral chakra is also related to taste. And when doing mantras or chants to balance your sacral chakra, the mantra or the chant for the sacral chakra is VAM. 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 So, in these situations, in trying to calibrate yourself, you might want to do the sacral chakra chant to recalibrate and realign some of those misguided or ill feelings of emotion. Because the sacral chakra is to feel and it is based from emotions and intimacy, positive qualities of the sacral chakra is joy, creativity, adaptability, sensuality, fertility, pleasure, and sexuality. In unbalanced and malfunction way, you might experience genital issues, sexual or infertility issues, rigidity, isolation, hip or sciatic nerve or joint problems, and dehydration. In calibrating your sacral chakra or any chakra to that extent, it is important to use the four elements: air, earth, fire, and water. When you use these elements, you are able to align and balance your body mentally, spiritually, and physically. You can do this with essential oils, patchouli, liang liang, bergamot, sandalwood, clary sage, jasmine, orange, and rose. You can make you an essential oil blend. You can put it in your tub. You can put a little bit of the blend on your chest as you meditate and listen to something that will help you balance out your chakra. Once you are able to do that, then you can then implement these different elements of earth, air, water, and fire to bring yourself into perfect peace and alignment. Now, it will not stay like this forever. As you go out and interact with others, as you move on, or even think about the experiences that you have gone through, you might have these feelings come back. However, if you are able to use the things that we spoke on from the four agreements, if you are able to forgive and have a healthy level of detachment, it'll be easy for you to reset your sacral chakra for optimal emotional health. The gemstones and crystals that you can carry in your pocket, on your person, as a necklace, bracelet, and preferably the closest to your skin that help you with emotions and emitting emotions is amber, coral, orange calcite, citrine, orange aventurine, carnelian, and hematite. Notice all of these, except for the hematite, are in the orange family. It's important to have colors of orange around you, whether it is flowers, clothes, anything that can bring that sacral chakra color into your life to help you to gain balance will be best. And last but not least, it is important what we allow to be said to us and what we say to each other. In doing so, you should practice your mantra or affirmations yourself on a regular basis. It'll also help to rest and slumber listening to sacral chakra balance music or sacral chakra affirmations. These affirmations are something that relates to your emotions and the positive attributes that we discussed so far as joy, creativity, adaptability, sensuality, fertility, pleasure, and sexuality. Now, there are different ones, but these are the main ones that sacral chakra deals with. So, the affirmations that you would say with this are: I am creative, I am adaptive and agile, I am sexual and sensual. I have positive emotional and sexual practices. I am able to enjoy the pleasures of life. I love and live freely. These are the things that you will say or cultivate yourself to saying on a regular basis so that you can align yourself. Also, making sure that you approach everything with compassion and abundance. You can even get an orange candle and burn it in your home. And this was a neat little trick I did one time before. I got 7 candles, each that represented the chakras in my body. Now, there are way more than 7 chakras, but only 7 that we talk about majority. So they go from the root chakra all the way to the crown chakra. And so I got the representative of the colors of each of my chakras and I prayed over them, I cleansed them, and then I lit them all at the same time. Regardless of them being lit all at the same time with all the same burn time, meaning I burned them at the same time. When it was time to put them out, I put them out at the same time. But it was interesting to see that the colors that I was most struggling with was the colors that burnt the most. So that was a neat little spiritual hack that I didn't do on purpose, but I was able to see the effects. And so it able to give me insight on what it was that I needed to work on the most. And as I said, this is not a sprint, it is a marathon. For one moment, you might work on your sacral chakra. Another moment, you might work on your heart chakra. Another moment, you might work on your throat chakra for communication. You'll always be doing work to make sure that you are balanced. So please don't think that you will be doing one or the other forever. As you recalibrate and adjust to the things that are happening in your life and around you, you will need to do different works at different times. And it's all a part of the journey. And there is no rush because the process will never be done. But I can tell you, once you are able to understand your feelings, notice them, feel them, and then delegate how to process them, your journey here in this physical plane will be so much easier. Our emotions are something that we feel when dealing with anything. We experience emotions when we get a new car, when we are disappointed, when we go to prom, when we get a certain amount of money for the first time, when we see our favorite person, or when we see our least favorite person. Emotions are indications that we experience every moment, every second. And it is important to understand yourself and the emotions that you feel. That way, you are able to understand if your emotions are off or is negatively being affected by something neurological, an environment, a person, or by a certain circumstance or experience. Only then will you be able to move forward empowered. I hope this episode was able to give you insightful information on what emotions are and the best ways to deal with them for optimal living. I know I learned so much in preparing this episode and in general in this journey of working on myself on a regular, everyday basis. My objective is to make sure that I vibrate and elevate higher and higher each day so that I can also be a light to others and bring to me more like-minded individuals as myself. But as you are doing the work every day to be the best you that you can be, always remember your mental health is the new wealth.